So I spent the last little bit trying to finally get SWMO working, and I finally got it. So when I was looking around, there were people talking about like, hey, it's not working, this, that, and the other. And the SXMO people were like, well, it requires seatd now instead of elogind. Once I installed elogind though, it was fine. And it would boot up just fine. So when you look at, let me actually go and find the tinydm source code again. So when you look at the tinydm init-d, you'll notice that it like wants this login-d here. There's nothing about seatd in here anywhere. So that's why if you're running the SXMO build script, it doesn't quite work because it adds a seatd to the thing. For some reason, that doesn't replace elogind or provide any of the shortcuts for it. And on Alpine, or Postmarket, which is what I was working with, I see hide nor hair of elogind anywhere, and it's not installed by default. But there's seatd and the other stuff. But I finally got it working. I'm not sure if it's supposed to look like this, though. So the menu comes up in the top corner instead. My switching window managers thing in the config menu here, or toggle, doesn't quite work. And for whatever reason, I can't get it to scroll. So you can see it like doesn't want to scroll anything, no matter how much I pull it to the bottom. So can I get it to leave? I've enabled auto rotate on accident. So obviously it's going to have a couple different things. Surf won't quite work. Qt browser does work decently. I can pull up like any terminal applications and it pulls it up in like foot. So any terminal applications is going to look for the default one for Wayland or X11. I couldn't find a way to get Waydroid installed, which is what I wanted to do. But Waydroid works actually halfway decently on Faucon Plasma. So basically it has all the extra stuff to it that you need otherwise. So the thing that I had to do here too is when I set it up for SXMO, the X11 backend, I went through and redid this end stuff again because for whatever reason, it just broke when using the build script here. And so by redoing the set session and then set permissions and then at tinydm, it would boot just fine into X11. But like I said, for whatever reason with logind, it just wouldn't, or without having elogind, it wouldn't do it for Wayland. So you're already building a couple of the binaries that you need here as well. So you've got that stuff there. So it basically should automate it. But obviously Arch and Debian are still needing to-dos here heavily. And so I was looking at the old Arch Linux systemd free stuff, and it's like, maybe I can just migrate to artix. Because I'm like, I was worried about the kernel not working. And then I'm like, wait, maybe I could probably just get away with it. So I may try and migrate an Arch Linux SD card over to maybe OpenRC Artix and try and install it that way. But I have to get TinyDM to... I'll have to do all the manual intervention stuff by hand on TinyDM to get it to work. And then maybe we can have our SWMO on artix on the pinephone, even though artix isn't officially supported on the pinephone just yet. So if we go and look at... We're just doing it boomer time. Boomer camera. So yeah, we're still stuck with Arch is the thing. So maybe down the road, yeah, set up Manjaro or Arch with migrated to Artix and then go from there. But yeah, that's most of everything. So yeah, it says here that... Where was it? It said here somewhere about Artix using the LTS kernel as default, but you could install any other kernel that you wanted to. So the kernel doesn't rely on system D per se, so yeah. So yeah, at this time, LTS was the only one provided. This was like early on, forever ago, when they first like opened it up. So when they only had OpenRC. But yeah, I did finally get Sway working. I'm not plugging it into my convergence to play around with it. I already had to use this to plug my keyboard into to get this stupid sucker working. But yeah, that's about it. It runs just fine when I did the manual intervention. It's just it wanted elognd to actually start it up. And I didn't even have to add elognd to the run services. Remember, guys, if you appreciate what you saw, if any of this helped you, you can scream at me on Discord, on Guilded, on any of the other chat things, on Matrix and whatnot. Links are down in the description. I believe I've even included my XMPP in there. Check it all out and drop a like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think at all, any of that kind of stuff. And I'll see you in the next one.